Hello, hello. How's it going, everyone? Everyone being the no people that are watching. That's all right. The point of the stream is not to get viewers or get people watching. It's just kind of to hold myself accountable while I'm learning. And the thing I'm learning is Unreal Engine. So let me go ahead and pull up my handy dandy lesson plan. Give me just a moment here. So last week, I made the silly mistake of not saving the VOD in any way, which is, it happens. It's all right, but we'll take this opportunity to kind of pivot. You can see there's a project here that I started on, a Gorillaverse Man, which was pretty decent for doing a lot of the high level stuff of like importing a character, applying animations to that character, all of these already being pre-made, pre-existing assets. But what I'd like to do is start with a little bit more of the basics, because there were a lot of basics the video seemed like it just assumed I already knew, but I would really like to get the hang of some of the more fundamentals. And so, to do that, I am going to use this course from Unreal University, which I'm not logged into. It's interesting that it lets me access that without actually having logged in, but it is just a direct link from my email. And I'm just doing all this on my second monitor, just to like to log in and stuff. So get that out of the way. Okay, there we go. So we've got this lesson plan here. Unreal Engine for beginners. Hopefully it works with my version of Unreal. I don't think there's like a separate project file that I need to download. I think it's just like some of the basics, I assume. And so installing Unreal Engine, which obviously already done that. Oh, hang on. We got a guest on our stream here. 1 second. She's currently sleeping, but let me turn on the cat cam. There we go. This is kind of a lower quality camera that's pointed at the cat. That was the one I was actually using last week. And I decided to just get a slightly better camera for really not that expensive. It's an ObSpot Meet 2, which, hello, much higher quality. The one pointed at Siren over here, which is her name, is it's just some cheap little like ONN on, or however you pronounce it, camera from Walmart. All right, so these are all video lessons, I'm assuming. Okay. Like a pop-out player.
To get started, head over to the Unreal Engine website and download the Eplex Games Launcher by clicking on this button.
Go ahead and hit pause on the music.
Once you've installed the Eplex Games Launcher, head over to the library section, and if you don't have Unreal Engine version 5, just click this button, and then from here, select Unreal Engine version 5 and install it. Once you've installed Unreal Engine 5, simply just click this launch button, and it should take you
definitely
to
a bit older
like this.
of a video.
If you've made previous
2022, that date says on his desktop.
Easily access them here by just clicking on them and then opening them. Although this is a beginner tutorial, and we're going to go over how to create our own projects. So to do that, you want to head over to the game section, and there are a bunch of starting templates that you can make your project start with. Although in this tutorial, we're going to make our game start with a third-person template. So just select this, And then we want to give our project an appropriate name. So I'm going to call this project Beginner Project.
Okay. Oh, some hefty loading. Oh, that's like the end of the video anyway.
And
Let me
then
just
click
finish that
Create.
off. Okay. And then, all right, leave that. Go to games, third person, beginner project. No variant. I think, yeah. Create. Cool. Loading up. The 3-year-old tutorial, so hopefully it's not too outdated. Aside from last week, I don't think I've opened Unreal Engine since like 4.4 something, I think. Been a long time. And I did do like a small little beginner course back then as well, but it really was also glossing over a lot of the fundamentals. So I was just kind of following what I saw on screen. And, it's a bit hard to remember stuff that far back. That was years ago. So we got that done. Is it better to? Wow, I just thought there was a thing at the top from before. Whatever. Let's do that and that. Maybe something like that. Could be helpful. Easier to see, maybe. Can I slide this? Ah, there we go. Show hide lesson list. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so give me some more room here. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, hopefully it's not too small to see stuff. But this seems like a good little setup. Oh my gosh, my OCD. Now I want to drag it right. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about right there. Shout out to all my self-diagnosed OCD bros.
Once your project loads,
Boom.
it should take you to a scene like this, and this is the viewport tab. And the viewport tab basically shows you everything inside of your level. One of the most important things you're going to need to be able to do in Unreal Engine is move around your viewport and view the different objects in it. So let's go over how we move around inside of Unreal Engine.
Okay, I do kind of remember that.
Around by holding the right mouse button and then just moving it around. Kind of like how you would move like if you're playing a first-person shooter game. And then you can use the...
Then I do remember from the tutorial last week, if I hold middle mouse and like pan around on the same Y plane, Z plane, Z and Y, whatever the side plane is currently of where you're looking, Z, and then it's like a mix, X and Y, but whatever plane you're looking at, you can kind of slide around it with the middle mouse if you hold it. I do remember that. I remember if you hold right click, you can WASD around and just kind of look. Yeah, I remember. Okay. So it did feel a little off that I couldn't go up and down with space and control. Oh, control stops it. Interesting. If I'm moving around while holding right click and then press control while I'm also moving, it just stops me dead in my tracks. Nope. Alt. Stay there. Let go of control. Okay. Oh, I should try to have some type of like keystroke indicator on screen for the stream. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Is that? I wonder how difficult that is to install. OBS keystroke overlay plugin. Oh, we got a whole config tool and everything. Okay, that might be a next stream activity. Use a texture and configure which buttons are shown on screen or how they arrange, how they look. flexible config system. So this seems nice and in depth, but this is a little bit of a tangent going off course here. So I'll save that for next stream. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me hit a bookmark on that. Done. Cool. Head back. I still have the Gorilla vs. Man tutorial. I could probably leave that there. I'll probably come back to it at some point.
The WASD keys to move the actual position of your character.
Okay.
And then as an alternative way of moving, you can also hold the middle mouse button and move it up and down and towards the left and right if you want to move like that.
There we go.
And let's say you
Sweet.
want to zoom into a specific object inside of your viewport. What you can do is select it. So if I select this cube and then click the F button, it will zoom me in to where that cube is. So those are how you can kind of like...
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Next, let's go over how we can manipulate objects inside Unreal Engine.
Very helpful.
Let's say I wanted to move this cube somewhere else in my level.
Pressing F, by the way. Again, if you, like you said, if you click on an item or an object, I mean, it's actor, technically. I think actor is anything that can be placed in a level, if I remember correctly. Unreal Engine actor definition. Yeah, a fundamental class representing any object that can be placed or spawned in a level. Actor. I read through the basic definitions, which maybe we should do that right here. Maybe we should read through the Unreal Engine basic terms and definitions. Terminology. Okay, yeah, project. Yeah, we all know what a project is. Holds all the content. View project, blueprint, the visual scripting system, node-based interface, creates game elements within Unreal Engine. As with many common scripting languages, it's used to define object-oriented classes, which I'm still kind of getting my head around. Object-oriented programming, or just programming in general. Like I know fundamentals of programming, like if this, then that. Like I've used like drop-down interfaces and very easily understandable high-level interfaces for working with different types of programming, like workflows or other things of the sort. Just many different types of programs, I would assume, have something similar. If there's like a high-level need to manipulate code on a level where you don't want everyone to be trained as a software engineer. But anyway, objects are the most basic class. In other words, they act like building blocks. Yep. Okay. Class is defines a behavior and properties of a particular actor or object in Unreal Engine. Classes are hierarchical, meaning a class inherits information from its parent class. It is the class it was derived or subclassed from, and passes that information to its children. Classes can be created in C++. I know how to use words. Classes can be created in C++ code or in blueprints. Actor. There we go. An actor is an object that can be placed into a level, such as a camera, static mesh, or player start location. I would call that a static mesh right here. So yeah, that was technically an actor and also an object. All actors are objects, but not all objects are actors. Yes, I think that's right. Casting. Casting is an action that takes an actor of a specific class and tries to treat it as if it were of a different class. Casting can succeed or fail. If casting succeeds, you can then access class-specific functionality on the actor that you cast to. Okay, so if you don't always want everything to have that functionality all the time, it seems like you just cast to that type of actor. Yes, just examples. All right. Making a game where you have multiple types of volumes that can affect the player character in different ways. One of these volumes is fire, which decreases the player's health over time. When the player overlaps with any volume in the level, you can cast that volume to fire to try and access its damage player health functionality. If the cast succeeds, that is, if the player is standing in the fire, the player's health starts to decrease. If the cast fails, that is, if the player is standing on Any other kind of volume, their health is not affected. Okay. So I'm not giving the player access to fire. It's just only triggering the fire if the player is standing in it. I think that's what it's, well, obviously that's how it works, but I'm just from like a casting definition perspective, I'm trying to just wrap my head around the logic there. A component is a piece of functionality that can be added to an actor. When you add a component to an actor, the actor can use the functionality that the component provides. For example, spotlight component, make your actor emit light like a spotlight. Rotating movement component will make your actor spin around. An audio component will give your actor the ability to play sounds. Cool. Love playing sounds. Okay, components must be attached to an actor and can't exist by themselves. Make sense? Pawns. Pawns are a subclass of actor and serve as an in-game avatar or persona. For example, the character in a game. Pawns can be controlled by a player or by the game's AI as non-player characters, NPCs. Cool. So just anything that can have controls either from the player or from AI, as it just said here. Sometimes I'm going to be repeating things just to like, one, just like cement it in my head, but then explaining it for anyone else that ends up ever listening. But it helps me to cement things if I kind of repeat them in a way that is digested and understandable. A character is a subclass of a pawn actor that is intended to be used as a player character. Character subclass includes collision setup, input bindings for bipedal movement, and additional code for a player controlled movement. Okay. Makes sense. Doing a lot of talking, not a lot of breathing. A player controller takes input and translates it into interactions in the game. Every game has at least one player controller in it. A player controller often possesses a pawn or character as a representation of the player in a game. The player controller is also the primary network interaction point for see, I told you I could talk. I'm real good at it. Interaction point for multiplayer games. Bam. During multiplayer play, okay. The server has one instance of a player controller for everyone in the game since it must be able to make network function calls to each player. Each client only has the player controller that corresponds to their player and can only use the player controller to communicate with the server. Gotcha. Associated C++ class is player controller. Hopefully, one day that'll be relevant. Have no clue how to code in C++, so we're gonna move on from there. A player state. A player state is the state of a participant in the game, such as a human player or a bot that is simulating a player. Non-player AI that exists as part of the game world does not have a player state. Make sense? Some examples of player information that the player state can contain include name, current level, health, score, whether they are currently carrying the flag in a capture the flag game. That makes sense. So like alive, dead, scared, out of breath. That could be a state. Game mode. The game mode sets the rules of the game that is being played. These rules can include how players join the game, whether or not a game can be paused, any game-specific behaviors such as win conditions. You can set the default game mode in the project settings and override it for different levels. Regardless of how you choose to implement it, you can only have one game mode for each level. In a multiplayer game, the game mode only exists on the server, and the rules are replicated, sent to each of the connected clients. Yeah. Game state. Different from player state. Excuse me. The game state is a container that holds information you want replicated to every client in the game. In simpler terms, it is the state of the game for everyone connected. Some examples of what a game state can include: information about the game score, whether a match has started or not, how many AI characters to spawn based on the number of players in the world. For multiplayer games, there is one instance of the game state on each player's machine. Local game state instances can get updated. Can I can read as well. I can say words and I can read. These are skills that I have. Local game state instances get their updated information from the server's instance of the game state. Brush. What? A brush? A brush is an actor that describes a 3D shape, such as a cube. Such as a cube or a sphere. You can place brushes in a level to define level geometry. These are known as binary space partition or BSP brushes. Binary space partition, BSP. This is useful if you want to quickly block out a level, for example. For more information, see geometry brush actors, content examples. Okay. Volume. Volumes are bound 3D spaces that have different uses based on the effects attached to them. For example, blocking volumes are invisible and used to prevent actors from passing through them. Pain-causing volumes cause damage over time to any actor that overlaps them. Pain-causing volume. So actors, I guess by default, have a health score. If there's a volume called pain-causing volume, or maybe that's just an example of a volume you can create. Trigger volumes are programmed to cause events when an actor enters or exits them. Okay, these two made more sense. Pain-causing volumes seem more defined, specific. I'm sure I'll learn more later about it. Level. A level is a gameplay area that you define. Levels contain everything a player can see and interact with, such as geometry, pawns, and actors. Unreal Engine saves each level as a separate .umap file, which is why you will sometimes see them referred to as maps. World. A world is a container for all the levels that make up the game. It handles the streaming of levels and the spawning, creation of dynamic actors. Okay, cool. That is the basics in terms of Unreal Engine terminology. Back to the lesson.
Select the cube with our left mouse button, and it'll become highlighted in yellow. So any object that we select will be highlighted in yellow. And we can see these 3 little arrows. And these 3 little arrows basically represent the directions we can move our cube in. So if I hold this blue arrow, I can move my cube in the z-axis, up and down. If I hold this green arrow, I can move my cube in the y-axis, so towards the left and right. And if I select my cube with this red arrow, I can move it in the x-axis, so I can move it backwards and forwards. Okay. And we can also move our cube in 2 axes at once. Do you see these 2 little lines between the Z arrow and the Y arrow? If I just select them, they both go yellow. And if I just select them again, I can just move my cube in the Z and Y axis at the same time without moving it in the X axis. And we can do the same here. So if I just select it here, I can move my cube in the Z and the X axis.
I can click this little angle.
And we can also specify
go in 2 directions at once.
Cube to move by.
And swing both ways with one click.
Changing its grid settings. So right now the grid setting is 5. And that basically means every time I move my cube, it'll move by 5. But we can change this value. So if I just change this to be, for example, 500, every time I move my cube, it's going to move by 500 units.
Oh.
So you can just use that to
hang on, where'd you click on that, my man?
But we can change this value. So if I just change,
I see the version differences in engine are starting to affect me here. Hang on, full screen, snap sizes. I wonder if the icon's the same. Oh. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. There it is.
Change this to be, for example, 500. Every time I move my cube, it's going to move by 500 units. So you can just use that to specify how much you want to move your cube by. Now, as well as moving our objects, we can also rotate them. So to rotate them, we just select this, select and rotate objects icon, and we can see that our gizmo kind of changes, and we can rotate our cube in the
Okay.
z-axis, the y-axis, and the x-axis.
Yeah, I
And just
do
like we can
remember
specify how much we want to move our cube by, we can
this
also
little row
specify
right here
how much we want to
from last
rotate our
time.
cube by. So if I just go here, I can make it so I can rotate my cube very precisely. So I can change this to be.
Okay, it's like a little angle icon. Rotate them. Okay, cool. Do 45. It's just gonna snap. Oh, cool. And there's like little notches that show you where the snapping points are too in the UI. Oh, that's handy. I like that. Oh, 5. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, those little notches are going to be very helpful, actually.
A smaller value like 5, and I have much more control over the rotation of my cube. And there's one final way that we can manipulate our objects, and that is by scaling them. So to do that, we just click the scale icon, and we can scale our cube in, again, all axes. The z-axis, the x-axis, and the y-axis. And we can also specify how much we want to scale our object by. So to do that, we can go.
Oh, yep, and you can do the little both ways handle right there.
If I try and scale up my cube in the y-axis, it's going to move by a lot. So I'm just going to change my back to 1. And there's one more thing we can do with scaling. So if I select this other cube, we can make it so that we can uniformly scale our object. So if I just select the middle icon and then hold my left mouse button, I can make it so that this cube scales in all its axes evenly. So basically, using those tools, we can manipulate objects inside of Unreal Engine.
Oh, okay. That was the end of that lesson. Or that unit? Oh, lesson, I guess. Lesson's probably the right word to use.
Next, we're going to go over how to use the Outlier tab. The Outlier tab will show us every single object inside of our level. So, for example, if I select this cube, it will now become highlighted in my Outlier tab. And if we double click on something on our World Outlier tab, it will zoom into that object. We can also hide objects using this tab. So if I click this eye icon, it will now hide that selected object. And inside of this tab, we can also create folders. So if I just go to this folder, if I just click the eye icon, it will hide everything inside of that folder. So I'm just going to click it again and we can re-see it. And to create our own folders, what we can do is we just select this map and then click this add folder button. We can create a new folder and I can call it example folder.
I guess if you hit the lighting button, it turns the lights down.
Example folder.
I can't see anything.
Now if I hide the eye icon on my example folder, it's going to hide everything inside of that folder. So we can just use the World Area tab to see all the objects inside of our level. Next, we're going to go over how to use the Details panel. So if I just select an object, it will now appear highlighted in my Details panel. And we can manipulate the transform of any object that we've selected. So here we can change its location in the X, Y, and Z by just moving around these values. So I can just move around this slider and it will.
Okay. Okay. With this one slider, you can control whether you have a floor or not. Floor privileges revoked. Cool.
It'll change its value. We can also type in values here. So if I made its Z value, say 90, it's just going to be 90. And we can do the same with its rotation and its scale.
I assume snapping is not applying here. Right? Like there's no way to set snapping on these either. Kind of just got to be precise with it. Okay.
If you wanted to make it so that when you change the scale of an object in the details panel, that it's uniform, what we can do is just click this anchor icon, and then let's say I change the value to be 3. It's going to scale it uniformly by these settings.
Cool.
But if you don't want that anymore, we can just uncheck this. Depending on the object we select in our details panel,
And I just
will
lock
depend on the options we
2 of
can
them?
change. Because I've selected a static mesh, there are a couple of settings I can change. So I can, for example, change the static mesh that I want this to be. I can change it to be a chair. I'm just going to change mine back. And I can also change the color that I want this to be. So for example, I can change this to be
Sorry,
this
quarter
color.
cylinder. You're a cube
But let's say
now.
I selected a different object, like this
That'll
text
make the
from
rules.
character. If I scroll down
I do
here,
make the rules. I
can
made the
change different
rules.
things. So I can make this say a different text, like example. So
All right, all right, all right. You can be a cylinder again. Can you be a cylinder? There you go. Quarter cylinder. All right.
So depending on what we select in our details panel, there'll be different options that we can change. We are now going to go over how to use the content drawer. So if we just click this little button here called content drawer, we'll be able to access all the blueprints and objects inside of our Unreal Engine project.
Okay, so there was a button here before. I could be crazy, but I remember the last time that we did a project last week when I tried to do that project that was a little bit probably a couple steps ahead of where I need to be. I thought there was a button here in order to lock it. So it does seem like that carried over, which is nice. But I don't know. Oh, lock content browser. Okay. Maybe if this was like full screen, it would be. No. Oh. All right. Let's get you back over here. Cool. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to press. Okay, so it does start out as a content drawer. Oh. You can still open the content drawer even when the content browser is right here. So I guess if you wanted to, okay, dock and layout. Cool. Does it give me another one? I can't have 2 content drawers. What if I want to? Just make every window a content drawer. Not very useful, but sounds like a challenge run.
So I can double click and go to this level prototyping folder and go to the meshes, and I'll be able to see all the meshes inside of this folder. And if I simply just select one of them with my left mouse button and drag it here, I can now place where I want this inside of the world. So we can use our content drawer to access any objects or blueprints we've made. We can also create blueprints inside of our content drawer and then place them in the world, although we'll be going over that later. A quick way to access the content drawer is to use Control Spacebar, and that will just bring it up. If you want your content browser to always be displayed, what you can do is if we head over to this window section and then select content browser and then select content browser 1, and it will always be there. So I can just move this up, and now the content browser will always be there if you want it. And if you don't want it there anymore, you can just click this close minor tab and I'll remove it. While we're on the subject of tabs, you can also rearrange how the tabs are. So for example, if I select this outlier tab, I can move it here, and now my outlier tab will be here. But I can also move it underneath here, and it will become underneath here. So you can just play around if you want to like change
can I have a second one?
Unreal Engine 5 looks. If at any time you mess up the layout of your project,
trying to hold me down.
Always go to Window and then go Load Layout, and then select the default Editor Layout.
I'd be too powerful with multiple content drawers. Oh boy, did I mess up. Can't get it back to where it was by default. Wait, hang on. He said he was telling me how to do that.
If at any time you mess up the layout of your project, you can always go to Window and then go Load Layout and then select the default editor layout, and it will take it back to the original layout.
Oh. Okay. That's probably fine. I thought there was another window right here. Is that place actors? Do I need the place actors window here? Got recent. Okay. Bring in lights and stuff too. Cool. VFX. Post-process volume, sky atmosphere. See, can this be put on like a drawer? That'd be a cool thing to just pop in and out. Maybe not, but I probably don't need this here all the time, right? Just bring that window back if I need it. Okay. Next.
In Unreal Engine, there are many different ways that we can view our level. I'm going to go over the main different ways that I like to do this. The first way we can view our level is the current mode we're in, which is lit, and this will kind of just show us our level, how it's going to be when our game's exported.
It is lit.
The second way we can view our level is if we change the viewing mode. To do that, we want to go over here, click this button, and then change it to unlit.
So are these floating buttons like only a thing if I remove that? No, they're not floating. Okay. Symbol is that? Just says lit. Well, I agree. This is pretty lit. Oh, there we go. Lit. Okay. Unlit. I'm in a cartoon. Wireframe. Oh.